Welcome to Mind the Business Radio, the radio show that helps you grow your business. And now, here's Suzanne, Darwin, and Ernie. All right, everybody, just when you thought it was safe to open up a business, here we are to help you. This is Mind the Business Radio. I'm Darwin.
I'm Ernie.
And I'm Suzanne. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and I just wanted to let everybody know that you can meet us on our website and listen to our shows on our website, as well as tune in iTunes and iHeartRadio. But you can go to our website, which is www.mtbradio.net. And today with us, we have a great guest, and Melissa McFarlane. And Ernie, why don't you tell everybody about Melissa?
Yes. Today we're going to talk about key components for a successful creative business. Mm-hmm. And Melissa McFarlane is an internationally recognized coach with over 28 years of experience in executive, business, and personal coaching. She's a sought-after speaker with a wide range of career and personal enhancement topics on which she presents. Melissa also has designed and taught many training programs and workshops around the United States and abroad. Her work focuses on assisting her clients in taking responsibility for and then realizing their personal and group potential. At Creative Successful Entrepreneurs, Melissa helps right-brain creative visionaries and mavericks to make a left-brain living by getting their big ideas into the world, where those ideas can make a difference. So, Melissa, you deal mainly with a lot of actors, is that correct?
Actually, I would say hi, everybody. First
Yes.
of all, nice to hear you guys. Boy, you guys, I love the voices on this line. So we deal with all sorts of creative people. We essentially right-brain thinkers, those who are kind of big idea thinkers, visionaries, healers, teachers, coaches, trainers, artists, designers, inventors. So that broad range
Radio
of the
host.
Creative.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Because every business...
Radio hosts, yes.
Yeah.
I think
I had to throw that in. Sorry about
that. Every business must have some sort of creative person in their, in their company.
You know, it's a great point, Ernie. Yes. Yeah. And we're all creative. Every human being is creative. It just, we tend to work with those who identify as such. We have a funny thing. We notice that oftentimes when people hear us talk, we say we help right brain thinkers make a left brain living. And if they don't know whether they're right or left brain, we know they're left brain. Mm-hmm. Usually.
Okay.
So the right brainers, they know, they're like, oh my God. So, that's that million mile an hour. I've got a million ideas. I can't pick one. Squirrel. Mm-hmm. Lots of things that are started, not that many things that get finished, or big ideas and really, really intelligent. We've got, our clientele tends to have, like at least 2 degrees, sometimes 4. They're often overqualified in their marketplace and, working for someone who has fewer, because they want to maintain their freedom and they've got all these creative ideas they're working on personally. So, but you're right. Every business has a creative component to it. Every one of us has creativity as a skill set or a capability. And so we work with a lot of people, in that area.
Okay. I want to ask a question. If a lot of people who are creative types, like you were saying, they have all these great ideas and all these plans and stuff, but they just really can't get some of them completed. Do they need a left brain person to help them get over that hump?
Well, they need somebody that falls sort of squarely in the middle, because, and it's one of the reasons why I've been coaching for a long time. But about 10 years ago, I started focusing on the creative, partially because I'm one. I was an actress for a long, long time. I guess you could say once an actress, always an actress. But I saw both in my own personal life and professionally how many artists and creatives had so much to give. Mm-hmm. Their thinking is so much ahead and outside of the box of what the rest of the world is in, but their ability to actually make good on the promise of their ideas is challenged by their nature. And I'm right in the middle. And I saw what it took for me to get, to take my ideas and make a living out of them, which so many of my peers could not do. And I thought, this is sad and stupid. And by the way, the world really needs, the creatives, because that's where creatives aren't afraid to leap. They've got ideas that are often way ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. But again, if they can't execute them, if they can't slow down and make them happen, earn a living from them. A lot of creatives are undercharging, over-delivering, don't know how to sell, don't know how to price their stuff. They don't know how to stop delivering. They don't know how to deliver in the right measure.
So you know us.
Yeah,
you've met us someplace before,
I am one
right?
Of you.
Okay.
Yeah. So it definitely, they do. To your point, they need someone who at least has executed in that sort of left brain, methodical, get it all the way done, realize the end game kind of thing. That understands them, because I went and saw a bunch of business coaches when I was first trying to transition my failing business as an actress who had a day job as a coach. And I needed to figure out, why is it that I can't actually make a living when I'm on international stages and on television? What's the deal here? Right. Everybody thinks we're doing so well. And we were, but not the way I wanted to do it. So I went to look how to do it. And I realized, all these business coaches, they speak to you in a certain way, people, that a creative can't quite work with. And so I saw, I need to translate it for those who go into certain religious institutions and need to translate wherever they are, into their own spiritual vernacular. Same thing here. I needed to translate the business vernacular into a creative arena so I could apply it to my life. Okay. And when I did that, I then saw, okay, we need to help some other people here. So,
wow.
Gosh, thank you for trying.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a pleasure and an honor, I have to tell you. I love our clients. They're so amazing.
Yeah. So it sounds to me, Melissa, like people are just wired one way or the other, and you're trying to be the little bridge that connects the two. Is that super challenging for you?
Not for me, but boy, watch another business coach. It's so funny. They're like, don't work with those people. Why are you working with those people? Oh my God, they never have any money. They're so crazy.
Oh, and they're creative types.
I love those people. And by the way, there are lots of creatives like that in the business world. One of the things that helped me to see the potential of my own business was that I was being brought into corporations to coach the creative maverick who was screwing it up for everybody, but they couldn't fire. It's like, this person is gold for us. This is our genius, but we can't, and nobody can work with them. Can you work with them? So I would work with them for a little bit, and I was like, oh, I get you. You're my sister. You're my brother. I totally get you. And before 6 weeks was over, we'd have that person and the team working together again. So it's because they're different. It's the way a creative naturally shows up to life that is different, and so we need to make room for that and be able to speak to that. But frankly, the training, so if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, well, I'm not a creative, don't worry, the training is the same. But the way we deliver some of that or help our clients move through it is different. So I hope that helps.
So when you're trying to start a creative business, is that one of the first things that needs to be done, is to integrate the two brains?
Oh, you're so smart, Ernie. Yes, you have to understand what the hallmarks are of how you are that don't work for being a business owner and what do. And what I find, you said earlier, you're either one or the other, but the truth is it's actually on a spectrum, right? So we want you, the individual client, to identify where they are not in the business. We would call it not operating in the laws with the laws of commerce. They're operating under laws of creativity, which are very useful in the creative realm. And we need to, all of us, be doing that. And so if you're a left brain thinker and you want to get more creative, you can learn about the laws of creativity. But you got to know what those are, and there is a distinction. And I'm furiously realizing that would be really useful if I could just tick off a few of them. So hang on. I'll just give you that.
That's okay. All of us right brain folks here are going, oh, we know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I like the fact that you mentioned, Melissa, that we first have to identify which brain we've got or where we tend to float. All of us creative people, when you want us to do the spreadsheets or the taxes, we just kind of glaze over and go, no, that's not what we're here for, and we don't do good at that.
Spreadsheets and taxes, what are those?
Well,
I don't want to do that.
And
That's
frankly,
awful. Yeah.
we would never say to a creative, you've got to do the spreadsheet, but we would definitely say a spreadsheet has to get done.
Yeah, so hire
Now,
somebody.
and if you've only got you, then how can we do it in a way that will work for you? And how can we help you understand why and make you do it help you to do it in a creative way?
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of creative versus commerce, if it helps. We'll just tick through a few of those. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. So creativity, law of creativity is, my business should support me. Creatives are like, well, I'm going to have a business so that I can never have to quit my creativity. I'll be an actor and then I'm going to have a business so I don't have to leave acting. And then they never feed their business. Whereas in the land of commerce, I should support my business is a really standard perspective. I serve my business. A creative is always looking to be outside of the box, whereas in the land of commerce, they're looking for the rules and to follow them, which is hard for a creative to figure out, like, that's valuable because they've been taught that their genius is outside of the box. So it's a great relief for a creative to learn the land of commerce because it's just about following simple rules. It's like not rocket science. So, that's the way you do that? Okay, I'll go do that. So they're super fast. Once they learn, I've got to stay color inside the lines. The land of commerce is about others, about the client. But in the land of creativity, you're taught, I need to ignore what other people think.
Yeah, because I'm a free spirit. Yeah.
Exactly. And my idea needs to be individual, my idea. Not, it's got to be different. And so in the land of commerce, there's no problem with, well, how does everyone else do? Oh, let's do that. That works. Rinse and repeat. Or what's the wheel? Let's repeat the wheel. And sure, with a brand new business idea in the land of commerce, yes, we need a creative, original idea. But honestly, how to execute it? We don't need to be that original. Let's market. Let's sell. It's just in mid lane. So the creative often has to kind of climb away from, I always say, don't be creative inappropriately. Don't get creative with how you brush your teeth. Just brush your teeth. Now, and then let's get creative with the idea that we're developing. But once we develop it, let's just market standardly. And so once you tell a creative that, they kind of get it because, that's easier for them. But it's really important that a creative begin to know their nature. In the creative world, the bar for success is innovation. But in the land of commerce, the bar for success is profit.
Yes.
If you ask a creative, why are you in a business? They'll say, well, because I want to change the world. And we're saying, great, but why are you in a business? A business person will say, for money. Duh, to make money. And, we don't want to hurt people.
No. Yeah.
Or we'd like to make a difference. We think we believe in our product.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes to something that might be useful for your listeners to hear, that there is an important tenet that is kind of foundational for all businesses that creatives need to learn to seek out when they're deciding whether to have a business or not. And that is whether or not their idea falls in the crosshair of commerce, meaning on one axis, need, is there a fat enough need? And on the other axis, is your solution good enough and specific enough to the need for people to be helped? So there's a natural heart-based reality around most business. People like to say business people are just money grubbers, but that's not true. You can't sell things that aren't valuable to people. It's not that easy to do that. Yeah, there's some places where people make money off of scams and that sort of thing, but it's really rare. The truth is mostly we buy things that work for us. So learn as a creative, let me get interested in the client. Let me get interested in the customer and see what they need and stop thinking it's all about me and be much more interested in, well, where's the crosshair? What's that crosshair? Because that's where the money transacts, is in that intersection between need and solution.
Okay.
Wow.
Well,
my head hurts now. Sorry.
Yeah. We are going to take a quick break and rest our right side of the brain.
Good.
When we come back, we're going to see how hard it is to convince somebody who has a right side of the brain that they actually do have a left side of the brain. Anyway, you're listening to Mind the Business Radio. I'm Darwin.
I'm Ernie.
And I'm Suzanne.
And we'll be back right after this.
Does your business sell products or send data to customers in Europe? Do customers from the European Union stay at your hotel or bed and breakfast? If you answered yes, then a new international law applies to you. It's called GDPR, and it could potentially bankrupt your business if you choose to ignore it. To find out more about GDPR, go to www.mindthebusinessradio.com and click on the GDPR Turbo Pack link.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mind the Business. I'm Ernie.
I'm Darwin.
And I'm Suzanne.
And we're talking with Melissa McFarlane. She helps a lot of creative types get into business and make them successful. So how much more difficult is it for a left brain person to go into the right brain?
Well, that's an interesting thing. Yeah. That's just like the other way around. It's a decision, and I would say it's about equally as difficult. It depends on, again, it's a spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. You're somewhere on that spectrum, and there are techniques to help a left brain become more creative. Thankfully in the business world now, or in even the professional world, there's so much less reliability of getting a job. When you get a job, it's pretty much understood now that you might not be staying in a job for 30 years. It'd be pretty rare now to do that. Whereas remember when it was very common that was the case. So luckily that is nurturing or enhancing a left brainer's ability to be more creative or to relax into less, because there's, in the world of creativity, you don't know. A piece of the land of creativity is the unknown. Mm-hmm. And for left brainers, the knowing is critical. It's key. It's at the top of their value system. So helping a left brainer learn to value the unknown and to live in it without panic is an important thing. So other things.
I ventured into the left side of the brain before.
Have you?
Yeah, I came right back.
Came running back screaming.
I came running back screaming.
Yeah, he survived.
I survived.
So we need to learn.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. We need to learn how to use both sides of our brain. Is it a process that you have to do every day, Melissa, or is there some little thing that just all of a sudden an idea pops in and you get it? Is there a struggle every day with someone who has to try and negotiate both sides?
It's a great question. Whether you're trying, no matter which side of the pond you tend to skate in more, trying to get all the way around the pond takes practice. So just like that analogy, you just have to, put your skates on and get over there and skate through the entire pond. And that does take practice. And we and this is true, like I said, either direction. So we have a process we use, lots of processes we use with our clients to help them practice those personal business practices that help them to integrate left and right and to be whole and to therefore be able to run a really successful 6 or 7 figure business, is really understanding how to practice whichever realm they're in. So different techniques for that. But you got to practice. Great question.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there a learning process? Let's say an artistic type gets together, he's got a great idea, and then he brings in somebody who's more left brain. Is there a process there where they actually have to
get along?
Well,
do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, identifying what the goals are and why each individual is going after a goal, no matter where we are, is useful so that we can make sure we're on the same page that way. But then to just understand that people operate differently and people are on a spectrum of creative or, practical, and that there is, value in each, can mitigate some of the automatic resistance that people might have to each other. I would say so that I used to work, I think I said that, in corporate, I would work with corporations would call me in to work with their creative mavericks who were running amok, and they couldn't let them go. They would be like, oh my God, no, nobody, there's the assistant hates them or, whatever, but we need her because she's so good or whatever. So I'd come in, and part of that is just about understanding each other and understanding what the natural bent is for each person and how we can kind of agree upon a common goal and allow for different methods for executing and look at benchmarks for barometer rather than watching each and every item of. It's a good thing to talk about in a marriage too, by the way, because marriages or relationships, they tend to come together because of maybe like versus, but sometimes opposites attract, right? So you have these two different people, and helping everyone to understand, first to value the other side of the pond, so to speak, to understand that they're going to be very uncomfortable skating in your pond, and that if you just let them skate their way, you might all both find that sort of Venn diagram moment in the middle where we're getting along and everything is working out. And hey, guess what? Thankfully, someone's over there on the other side of the pond doing it their way, and that really helps me. So there's some just recognition and appreciation of the span of way to be, and then also teaching people to understand which type they are and how to move forward in that.
Okay.
I would say also, going back to the goal though, that for either member, either type of person to succeed building their own business, there's some common things that everyone has to know and succeed in a business. And I think a lot of people go into business unless you've been trained at, and frankly, I've got 3 Harvard graduated, Harvard MBAs in my family and a Kellogg MBA. Like, they all went off to do regular business school. None of them, by the way, until they were over 45, 50, had a business of their own. I had a business for 28 years without any of that training. And what I discover is, so my point being, I'm not even sure they teach it all the time in business schools these days, but you need to know what the 4 arenas are of business. And a lot of people go in not really knowing that. They just have an idea, and they have talent, especially creatives. They have an idea and they have talent. And so they go in saying, well, people are buying this and they keep telling me this is great, so I think I'll just start a business.
That's all I need, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not. It's not all you need. So whether you're left brain or right brain, knowing what those 4 things are, what those arenas are, and being good in those arenas is really critical.
Okay, so it's an element of trust, right? I
Yeah.
the
self-trust
right brain,
and other trust.
Yeah, you have to trust the guy who knows what he's doing business-wise, and the business person has to trust the artistic type. He's going to keep coming up with great ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're in a business, and you're looking at your personnel, what are some of the characteristics of the creative type?
Yeah, so creatives are going to be looking for a problem that interests them. So it's helpful if they really are one of the client that you're trying to reach, or if they've been in that world, so if they know something about the buyer, basically. If they've been that buyer, it can help, or if they are good at understanding people, which typically creatives are. They're usually more emotionally intelligent, unless they're in the tech creative realm, which is still, I would say, a totally murky arena. There's a lot of emotional intelligence in the tech world now. Years ago, it wasn't quite the same, but now it's a hugely emotionally intelligent arena. So you look for emotional intelligence so that they can get a read or a bead on what that customer is needing, and then release them to. They'll release themselves to, how could I solve that problem differently? You want to be looking for that in a creative. Is, do they understand? Could they understand the client? Talking to them about that.
Okay.
I've lost the question though. I might have not answered it well. That's one aspect.
Okay. Well, actually, this is a good time for us to take a break. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Everybody, you're listening to Mind the Business Radio. I'm Darwin.
I'm Ernie.
And I'm Suzanne in the corner.
And we'll be back with Suzanne right after this.
Does your business sell products or send data to customers in Europe? Do customers from the European Union stay at your hotel or bed and breakfast? If you answered yes, then a new international law applies to you. It's called GDPR, and it could potentially bankrupt your business if you choose to ignore it. To find out more about GDPR, go to www.mindthebusinessradio.com and click on the GDPR Turbo Pack link. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Mind the Business. I'm Suzanne Strong.
I'm Darwin.
And I'm Ernie Costello.
And today we're having a lovely conversation. The lady's name is Melissa McFarlane, and we're talking about the key components for a successful creative business and how you get there and how you right-brain people and you left-brain people sing Kumbaya and get along together in other ways. And I'd like to say before I ask my question to Melissa, hello to all our friends and listeners in Norway. Thank you so much for listening. Melissa, it's
cold there.
Well, I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but I think it's winter. We've been talking about creative people and people who are more analytical, left brain, and how they have to learn to get along. So we've talked about that topic and how you've been a great matchmaker, if you will, getting people to at least understand what side of the brain lights up quicker for them. Is there some kind of a roadmap once we've decided what our brain is that leads us to where we're supposed to go? What's step number one once we've made that huge realization?
Well, that's an interesting question. Yeah. Well, I think the easiest way to sort of articulate a roadmap is to consider an analogy like a restaurant. You know, like if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to start a business, I want to open up a restaurant, which is a pretty typically creative, arena business, sure, as opposed to I'm going to become an accountant, which is a professional business. We're talking creative business, so restaurant is a good example.
Okay.
And so let's say we've got to think about four things that arenas or aspects of the business, or we're going to fall down. And it's easy to see it in this restaurant analogy, so we'll use that.
Okay.
Imagine this restaurant is on a New York busy street, and people are rushing by, and we need to do what? We need to get them to stop in their busy day and come inside our restaurant. And if we just shout at them, we have food, the really starving, hungry people will come in, but maybe we don't just want that sort of person in, and they're going to come in once, eat something and leave, and not do anything helpful. They're not going to talk to anybody. They're going to be lost inside there, except for their stomach will direct them, and they'll probably go for the cheapest thing that'll feed them the most. It's not the right fit for making money on a long-term basis from that client. So we need to actually speak specifically to the people we want to get to come inside. So, hey, we've got a really gorgeous, want to impress somebody, want to make be the hero at your office, at the office party, blah, blah, blah. Those people will come inside. Everyone else will keep walking, and that's the way we want it. And that's called marketing. So we need to be good at marketing, getting people to stop and come inside, right? Mm-hmm. Once we get them inside, we need to capture the cash before they eat, which is a huge problem that creatives have. Creatives tend to give away everything. Lots.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yes. And anybody want to raise your hand?
Yeah.
Well, our hands are raised here.
and it's it's not
all
like
six
we can't
hands.
get,
all six hands. Yeah.
I'll put mine up. We're an 8.
Okay.
It's not like you can't give away a sample. That's a great strategy, but the creative will just give the samples away. A business person, a left brain thinker, accountant type will say, well, we'll give samples away, but how much are they going to cost? And we're not going to give caviar. And then they'll say, and when we give them, we're going to have a little thing that says, bring your friend back for 20% off next time. Or like we're going to have a call to action. And we're going to have a way to monetize that little piece of free food we're giving out. So in any way, we need to know how to capture that cash before people eat. We send them through the buffet line. They make a decision, they pay, and then they sit down. Or they look at a menu, they get excited, and they commit through a contract with us about how they're going to pay. So, and that conversation of helping someone to understand the value and to pay the proper amount, $90 for dinner instead of $9, which is easier to run a business off of. We don't want to compete on price ever in a creative business. Don't do that. You can't. So in that way, we have to get a high ticket for our services, and we have to learn how to sell. That's called sales. And sales is very different than getting people to come inside. So if if you're listening to the podcast here and you know that you're really good at getting people to go, oh my gosh, you sound like you could really help me. That's really great. And then they never buy. that's a sales problem. If you can't get them to even come inside and say, wow, you sound really neat, can we talk? That's a marketing problem. Two different situations there.
Okay.
You know, and then when shall I pause for air?
No,
Yeah,
go right ahead.
great.
No, you've captured us.
Well, it's such an easy way to think about it. I find it helped me to think this way. So, you know, we get them, you know, we get a place where the client is feeling so excited, right, to buy. They're happy to pay $90 plus tip and come back because they know what they're going to get. They know the value of what they're going to get. And you've had this great conversation. Well, then we need to make sure that we feed them, you know, so that they eat really well, but we don't starve in the process. So you don't want to feed everybody caviar if they don't really like it, or they're only paying for an appetizer. You want to know how to dole food out and package the food properly, et cetera, so that you're getting fed while they get fed. And that is an arena of business building that we call packaging and pricing.
Okay.
So, you know, I quadrupled my income on this feature alone in the first year of my business, because I learned that the way I was delivering services, I had people walking inside and people agreeing, but my prices were too low. So I had marketing and sales down at a low price, but I had them in programs that exhausted me, so I couldn't scale the business. And I was giving away way too much for the amount I was charging, and I was exhausted. You know, within a first year, I reduced my workload by 75%, and I increased my income by 4 times. It was shocking to me, and I was embarrassed.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's a huge piece to focus on. How do you deliver your services? And knowing what the rules are for that are really critical. And then the final thing, you know, once you've got your business really busy and up and running, you need to have your kitchen clean so people in the back end aren't slipping on bananas, and you know, you don't have the soup mixing with this Chateaubriand or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's things like Ernie knows already. That's all the left brain stuff, like,
and he makes a great Chateaubriand.
Oh my goodness!
No, I don't.
Let's set a date, Ernie. I want to see.
No,
I'm trying to remember what it is.
Yeah, we have to know. We have to know how to have our client come back again, and how to remind them with an email. You know, capture their email at the front door so that we can send them the 20% off discount, or let them know we're having a holiday, you know, menu this time or whatever. And we need to know how to actually process payments. I can't tell you how many of our creative clients are really good at, you know, getting someone to say, okay, I'm in. And they never go get that money. It's so strange. It's like, just go collect the money. How much money do you have on the table from people that aren't paying you, or you haven't made it easy? You know, and this happens all the time. Think of the last time an actor friend of yours sent you a come to my show and then said, please buy your tickets. And then the bloody process to buy the ticket took 9 hours. And you were just like, forget it. I'm not going. I can't go. You know, so that's all behind the scenes management. That's what we call that arena. So those 4 arenas, and you can be quadrupling your income and relaxing your time.
Wow.
You know, I really would like to be embarrassed that way. 75% less workload and 4 times the income.
Yeah,
I know.
Who knew? The funny story about that is that I say embarrassed because I had a client. I had been life coaching. I hadn't learned how to business coach yet. I was, you know, like I said, internationally known, on television, the whole thing. And still, I was struggling. And at that point, I had become a single mom by choice. And I was like, I had a client who was making more money than me suddenly. And she just kept making more and more money than me. And I was like, well, and she was a coach. And I thought, I can coach. This isn't, you know, I could coach at least as well as her, if not better.
Exactly.
And she was like, and then finally, it took me 4 months to ask the gal, what are you doing? And she said, you know, I asked her at the end of a coaching call, she said, well, Melissa, I hire you because you keep me grounded and you help me with all the psychological stuff and everything. But, and you know, the practical making my dreams come true stuff. But for money, I've hired these business coaches. And so I hired those business coaches in 10 seconds flat and quadrupled my income the first year. So, and now I teach people.
See?
So that's why I was embarrassed, because I felt like I was supposed to know how to do all that.
Yeah.
So you're listening to her very intently, and as soon as she walks out the door, you're on the phone.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was so sweet. She understood because she'd gone through the same transition herself. So she was glad to share the news.
We all have to learn somehow.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I understand. All right, everybody. You're listening to Mind Your Business Radio. Ernie, why don't you tell everybody how they can listen to us?
Yes, they
get
can,
a hold of us.
They can go to our website, which is mtbradio.net, or they can type in our old URL, which is mindthebusinessradio.com, and they can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, and other audio apps that are out there.
Yes, I should list those for you.
Yes, you should.
I know. But see, that's the left side of my brain.
We don't have a whole segment to list all those.
Yeah, I know. All right, everybody, you're listening to Mind Your Business Radio, and we're going to come back and talk with Melissa more about the battle between the right and the left.
Does your business sell products or send data to customers in Europe? Do customers from the European Union stay at your hotel or bed and breakfast? If you answered yes, then a new international law applies to you. It's called GDPR, and it could potentially bankrupt your business if you choose to ignore it. To find out more about GDPR, go to www.mindthebusinessradio.com and click on the GDPR Turbo Pack link.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Mind the Business Radio. We had a break there. We had a great time talking during the break about some cool
You'll
stuff.
never know.
And one of them, and Suzanne brought up the point about making money.
It was just a thought. You know.
Yeah, it was. Someday it could happen. But
it's such an afterthought for creatives. Like, money too.
Yeah. Well, Ernie and I even considered the idea of making our own currency.
I just don't like the Secret Service knocking on my door.
No, there's something.
There's that left brainer in you, Ernie. Come on. Think outside the box. They'll never catch you.
Yeah.
You'll be long gone by the time they're away.
But the only problem with that is Ernie and I, we didn't know whose face to put on the dollar bill. Whether it was going to be mine or his. So I don't know. Creative types.
Funny.
But once the creative type starts making money and they're making a living from what they're doing, what's the next step? I mean, there's money management, right? I mean, because they're making money, they shouldn't go just blow it all.
No, nobody should do that. But for any business owner in the beginning, once we're making money, we reinvest a large portion of it back into the business, but you've got to know how to do that.
Okay.
And so a piece of that behind the scenes management, awareness and acumen is knowing about how to build a team and when and who to get when. So there's stages of growth for a business, and you can do a lot on your own without needing assistance. But typically a thing that is different between left and right brain worlds around hiring is that the left brain knows we need. They're just really clear. We can't do it. First, they're more rational. So it's like creatives think I can do everything, and they've had to. They've been typically held down 2 to 3 jobs at once. They have been the lead here and the lead there and the whatever, big thinker on that area. So they're always full of lots of responsibility in each of those arenas sometimes. And so they know how to multitask super well. And so they have a really aberrant, wrong idea of reality. They think they're super people, and they're not. So but the rational left brainer would be like, well, I can't do that. I need help with that. Like, we're not going to do that, or we're not working. I mean, I'll never forget talking to all my, left brainer business master's degree family members who were saying, well, what about capital? So you have capital, right? Who's your capital? And I was like, what's capital? I mean, I thought I'm just going to bootstrap this thing and earn it,
Washington,
and I
DC.
did. But so with them, they were like, and who's your team? Who's your staff? And, when you've hired, someone to sit in the office and do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, no, that's me. That would be me.
Oh, yeah.
So the first thing for a creative to know, or for all of us to know in business, is hire early when you're not ready. You're never going to be ready. It's just like having babies. Like, you're not going to be ready. You're not going to have the money to hire a coach. You're not going to be ready to hire an accountant. You're not going to be ready to hire your first admin. So as long as you know that if you were to hire someone, your ability to focus on what your strength is would improve, and you've already gone through those things of knowing how to attract a sale and close the sale. So you've got to learn that on your own in business. But then you hire early before you're ready, kind of thing. I mean, you'll never feel ready. In other words, especially a creative, she or he will just say, "Well, I got this." And
I can do it.
Yeah. I don't know. Did I answer the question?
Yes.
I think I answered.
But isn't that a problem though with creative types? Is they kind of want to be in control of their baby?
Good call. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really hard to kind of back off and let other people handle some of the minutia of his business.
Well, to answer sort of what's after you start making money, for the promise of hiring is that you as the creative will be able to do what you're best at and to make the difference you wanted to make in the world. And most creatives really are driven by impact, not income. Mm-hmm. And so if you can, as a coach, I'm also often talking to the creative about, look, you have something you're up to, and I don't see it happening unless you stop licking the stamps at the office. Like we need to get you on the stage. So we need someone else responding to those who are coming in, or creating the lead page or the landing page that people see so they can convert and sign up for some time with you. Like you need to get out of that arena. So how would you, and what one thing to know is that if you look at a business realistically and start taking the steps you need to take, even if you're not sure how you're going to pay for them, et cetera, it requires you to do things that you would not have done otherwise. For example, raise your prices. Like if I can do everything on my own and I'm fine and I can charge $75 an hour and I can charge hourly. But if I am looking at needing to pay for someone who costs me $75 an hour, now I need to charge $150. And that is a skill we need to learn anyway. How do I raise my prices, for example? So hiring can be a great way to, honor the truth about what you're trying to do and actually make the impact in the world. So that can help a creative get courage and get off their high horse about needing to be, cook, thief, and bottle washer or whatever, all at once for ego. Like, look, you're not going to get where you really want to go, and that's going to be a bigger ding to your ego than not getting to lick the stamps. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's some reality call there, reality wake-up call there for creatives. Yeah.
It also saves you from being tremendously exhausted by not doing everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which again, creatives have become inured to that. They're not aware of how exhausted they are because they get energy from all that creativity. So they're not quite aware. But then they come, out of their fog and they say, I keep not having a relationship, or I've divorced twice, or I've never paid my taxes in 10 years, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Ernie's done taxes.
Yeah, please. That's the T word. Go away.
He can help you with that.
Yes, I have done it.
I love it.
And Suzanne, she's a writer, so
Yes, well, that's it. Yeah,
yeah.
That's a leverageable skill right there, Suzanne.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is. And but it's interesting to know that when we got together, the three of us, we've known each other for years, but on the podcast, which we've been doing about 4 years now, right?
Wow.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, and we have a lot of shows under our belt. No money, but a lot of shows. But I have to tell you, we love doing this. I mean, we look forward to when we can sit here and talk with people like you who are just so intuitive and have so much to share with our audience.
Well, and thank you for that. And let me say something about that to you, Darwin, just for encouragement. You've done a good thing. You've spent some time nurturing an audience base, and now you're really poised, and I know you've got it in your map to begin monetizing in a healthy way. And try to remember that monetization for creatives, that's the thing. A lot of them are like, well, I don't want to ask for money. This is a give. This is a gift. Instead of understanding that, like, the currency of adult life is money. We all understand and value things that cost money. We actually value that, sometimes more than something we can get for free. you're going to, and I know you've got this on your radar, but you're going to be able to benefit your audience so much more when they listen. And then what comes after that is, well, here's some different ways you can play with us. If you're ready to get started in your business, we've got a little program that will help you build your business. Or, hey, you can meet a panel of our experts. If you want to come to our event, it's $99 to come to a 3-day event with all these people. That's going to be an awesome give for your audience because they've been listening. Exactly. So, it's all a win-win-win when you start to make money. I guess it's a message I want to send. Yeah. And also just to you, good for you to create to understand, build it, and they will come, and that's a healthy thing for everyone. They've gotten value, and now they'll want to spend time. I'm sure your listeners are like, Ernie and Suzanne and Darwin, can you guys give us more of something, please? That would be great. Yeah.
And besides, I can't borrow any more money from Ernie.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Darwin, nothing coming from me, right?
Absolutely.
No, we love doing this to kind of talk about the show. Our idea with the show is to be able to help entrepreneurs to get ideas because we didn't know. So we thought, well, why not do this so we could learn from some of our guests? And it's worked out really well for us. And so now is the time for us to make a living from it. Anyway,
perfect.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. This is Mind the Business Radio. I'm Darwin.
I'm Ernie.
And I'm Suzanne.
And we're going to be right back with Melissa right after this.
Does your business sell products or send data to customers in Europe? Do customers from the European Union stay at your hotel or bed and breakfast? If you answered yes, then a new international law applies to you. It's called GDPR, and it could potentially bankrupt your business if you choose to ignore it. To find out more about GDPR, go to www.mindthebusinessradio.com and click on the GDPR Turbo Pack link.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mind the Business. I'm Ernie.
I'm Darwin Strong.
And I'm Suzanne Strong.
And we have been talking to Melissa McFarlane. It's been a fun show.
We've been having too much fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
You're coming back, right?
Yeah, not only during the show, but in between during our breaks.
Yeah, exactly.
But so Melissa, you have a business called Creative Successful Entrepreneurs. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, easy. We've been around for, golly, more than a decade. I've been coaching for about 28 years now. Our clients are, as I said earlier, we range in this sort of broad spectrum of right brain thinker or creative maverick. And the distinction there is, our creative maverick might be a CEO of a large Fortune 500, Fortune 100, who is a great, brilliant thinker, but needs some help managing his or her team or many offices across the world. So we have people that we coach primarily with me in an upper level group we call the Promise Circle. Oh. And we have lower level, or lower level is probably it's a little pejorative, but just more independently focused individuals who are just building their creative businesses and they're looking just to get out of that mid 5-figure and into that multiple 6-figure income. And so we work with them to create a business that will allow them to maintain their creativity while they also deliver those gifts into the world in a way that monetizes, feeds them well, allows them to reach their personal and professional goals, and not ever have to choose between a creative life and a profitable one. Mm-hmm. We don't like that lily pad. We call it the dastardly straddle, the straddle of those two lily pads of profit. Yeah. So that's what we do, and we typically find we come in when people are cash poor or unorganized or disorganized, let's say, or uninspired in their businesses, and we help them transform. So you have
met us before.
Yeah, I'm having a great time meeting you on the breaks. I wish our breaks were longer. Yeah. Let's make the breaks be longer next time.
Let's just do a show on breaks. Forget the show part.
2 minutes of show and 20 minutes of break. That's a creative right there for you. Yeah. So yeah, and we just help them make them, profitable, creative, inspiring again. And our goal is to have that happen. Have a lot of creatives out there doing that, using their creative talents in a way that actually changes the world. We think creatives are here to evolve the planet, but so often they can hardly, do anything but chase their tails. And I was one of them, so I say that not rudely, but as one, it takes one to know one. So that's what we do, and we do it on a broad spectrum. We work in, groups and one-on-one and at retreats and in live events and things like that.
That's great.
So if they want more information, where can they go?
Yeah, we were talking just now. I was thinking, Suzanne, or I think you just said, can you come back? Hopefully we will get a chance to do another podcast down the line, because I can unpack some of what everyone heard today.
Oh, absolutely.
Like just focus on marketing or just focus on sales.
Yes.
But if they're, if our listeners are wanting to, if you heard as we were talking a little bit of like, oh, that's me. And you just need we have a phrase that says, we go, there's so much to do, but really just two things, now and next. So for a creative, calming down and getting clear on your now and next is critical. And you need someone who can kind of hear the big picture, get it all, and then say, okay, good, let's hide all of that. You're doing this first and this second. So we have a little session called our Now Next session, and you can get a free one of those, or at least see if you can get a free one of those if you text to a number. So if you'll write this number down, our listeners, 818-210-4341, 818-210-4341, and just text the word, all one word in capitals, claim gift, CLAIMGIFT, claim gift. Then we will give you, because you've listened to this podcast, a little bit of our time to give you a now and next. And if you're listening around the New Year time to this podcast, then you may want to check out our New Year, New You process, which is a really easily accessible. I think we've got we'll create a way for your podcasters to listen to that and participate in that program. Thing.
Oh,
but
wow.
Basically, it's a way to kind of get clear about your personal and professional goals and all of that at the beginning of the year. And so you can go to our website and find out about that.
Perfect.
Okay, and give us your website, Melissa.
Yeah, it's a little tough, long website.
It's
it's
okay,
creative.
I have time.
Yeah, thank you. Creative-successful-entrepreneurs, plural.com. Creative-successful-entrepreneurs.com.
Okay.
All right.
Gosh, and a free gift, folks. Remember that text number is 818-210-4341, and you're going to text the word claim gift.
And that's one word.
Yes,
No
and it's all in
spaces,
capitals,
yes.
please, because that's just the way the internet is. I didn't set it up, but go ahead and do that for the free help that Melissa and her staff will give you.
So what's the capital? No.
Stop.
Sorry. I'm not that bad.
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, we'll
It
take
certainly
capitals
isn't
for 200,
income.
Alex. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this has been
okay.
fun.
I think it's
Thank
a
you,
basketball
Melissa.
team.
Yeah.
It is. It is. Yeah, we could probably stay on the air another hour.
I know, but we
Just
can't because the sponsors won't like
throw
us.
one-liner back and forth.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you, you guys.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
thank you
Melissa,
for
thank you
helping.
for being on the
Yes.
show.
So if
and-
you're a creative right brain
Yeah.
person, please, this is the show for you.
Yeah.
Remember,
Exactly.
Or if you're a left brain person and has a creative working for you.
This is the show for you.
Yeah.
so you don't
Exactly.
kill each other.
You know, or if you just want to have some fun, this is the show for you.
Absolutely, we try hard for that.
Thank you for just really sharing all this information with us, and we really would love to have you back on
Yeah,
the
I think
show
we've only
so we can
touched the surface.
you know, and delve into this deeper. But everybody, you've been listening to Mind the Business Radio. We are so glad that you listened to our show today, and you can go to our website again, www.mtbradio.net. And we look forward to hearing from all of you again right here on Mind the Business. You take care and have a good one, everybody. Mind the Business Radio was produced in association with Taylor Pacific Video. Copyright 2018.